Hi everyone! In today's video I'm going to be trying on some new makeup, including a couple of extra bits from the Chanel holiday collection. Yeah, I couldn't resist. I went back, I was skulking around the counter and I just couldn't resist, I'm afraid, so watch on. So in terms of what I'm going to be trying on and wearing today, I have got the Chanel SUBLIMAGE foundation. I have got the new Embers by Anastasia palette. I really wanted to try this. I have got the Anthracite Chanel mascara. I have got something else. Oh, I've got the new Shodō, which finally arrived, 05 and 06. I've actually bought 2 packets of these because when I say packets, you get the 05 and 06 in one packet. So I bought, 2 sets, as it were. And oh, I've got the new lipstick as well, the Chanel Rouge V, which was the other one. Not so much the other one, it's the other new shade in the lipstick, in the Allure Velvet lipstick. So I've got that as well. So let's get cracking. Now, the SUBLIMAGE, what happened with the SUBLIMAGE is I have got I was going to say a checkered past with Chanel foundations. That's not true. I've just never, ever found my shade, ever. And I've tried everything over the years. And in fact, my recent one was, you can see I got 2 bottles of it and the shade's wrong. And both times I've been shade matched in store. And one time I did actually go out into daylight and it looked all right, but actually, an hour later, I just looked a bit grey. Grey's not a good look. I got BD41, way too light. BD51, also light and too grey. And actually, so this is the #1 Chanel foundation. I just don't like the foundation. I just think it's very, very average. It's not even average. I think it's below average, frankly, but I know it's very popular. So clearly I'm in the minority. So I thought I would give it one last spin of the wheel or throw of the dice or whatever the acronym is and go for the SUBLIMAGE. Now, I do like the SUBLIMAGE skincare range, even though it's horrifically expensive and probably overpriced. So I got shade match, I've got a sample, and I'm very happy to go back and pay for it if it's good. Let's try. It did look nice in store, but can't tell, can you? You can't really tell. Now, I have to say, the ladies in the Chanel boutique that I go to, which just in case you are in the south of England and you go to King's Cross station regularly, not King's Cross, I'm sorry, St Pancras. It's actually where the Eurostar is, which goes to France. So that's the boutique that I go to. It's only beauty, and so it's basically makeup, skincare, and all the fragrances, which is divine. But they are wonderful in there, and they let you take your time, and they're just fantastic. So let's give this a go. So I got two packets of the 05 and 06. They come together. They finally arrived. They arrived yesterday. I ordered them the day that they came, but obviously it takes time to come from the States, come to the UK. So you get the 05, which is a lovely sort of brush that I think, I'll be able to use for both blusher, but I'm also going to try it with the foundation today, just to see what it's like, because it could be really lovely for a really kind of light finish. Let's see. And you also get, you get this little teeny tiny brush, which they say is going to be great for the lash line or as a liner brush underneath. That's kind of what I think I'm going to use it for, or for sort of very detailed work. So I am a fan of the Shodō collection. I've got all the others, and what I love about them, I've got their eyeshadow brushes, I should say. Are they these ones here? Hang on, let me just see. Yes, I've got them here. Yeah, they're lovely because they have got this very wispy top. They go to a point, but they are wispy. And so it stops someone like me from being very heavy-handed. I do appreciate them very much. I really do. They're even good for liquid eyeshadow. So for example, Lisa Eldridge's Liquid Lurex. These are the 2 that I've worn the most up until the new ones came out, which is Phoebe and Anais. They're quite glittery and they are lovely. If you use these with this, you can get a really soft finish with them, which is just very flattering, even for day, and especially for a mature lid. So this is kind of a winning combination for me. At any rate, I have got the Chanel SUBLIMAGE foundation here. I've got it in a sample. I've got it in B50. Now, I was shade matched. I have put on my usual skincare, and I'm going to use the Shodō 05, and let's see what happens. Now, I've got a bit of a mixed history with Chanel in that I have tried all their foundations and I have never found the right shade for myself. The last one that I bought was the #1 de Chanel. I've got 2 bottles here. I mean, honestly, it's just such a waste of money. Oh, that's nice. I've got them in BD41 and BD51. No good at all. Absolutely no good. Just too grey. One's too light and the other one is just too grey. I think also I don't actually like the foundation, so I should be kind of, you know, fair about that. Now this Sublimage is going on nice and thinly actually, which I like. I was shade matched in the store, and actually it was lovely because they've given me the sample, but the lady was pretty adamant that this was going to be good for me. I have to say, it is looking rather lovely. Now, because of this brush, I'm putting on it's quite thin. It may or may not be the right application, but I did want to try the brush. And because I bought 2 packets of these, I know I can use my blusher, the other one for my blusher, so straight away rather. So let's see. Now, the whole point about Sublimage, and there's 24 shades, is it's all about illumination and light reflecting. So I'm absolutely here for that. I do like a sheer foundation. So let's see if this is going to be enough coverage for me, because it is a bit of a trade, isn't it? It's got to compete with the Clé de Peau that I have now completely fallen in love with. This is actually even more expensive than the Clé de Peau, I believe. It's £140. It tells us, it gives us an ultra sensorial experience. I think we'll be the judge of that. And it leaves the skin protected from external aggressors. If only it was that easy. Or is it just my life? You just put on your lovely foundation and there's no more aggression in your life. Okay, let's see about that, shall we? I have to say, it's got a lovely fragrance. Now, if you don't like fragrance, you're not going to like this, but it is nice. It's kind of a light floral fragrance. This brush is so soft. I thought I might feel the bristles just because it's not got a rounded tip, but it is as soft as the eyeshadow ones if you've got them, the Shodō 00 and the others, 02, 03. Does it go to 04? I think it does. This is very nice. Yeah, this is very nice. Let's put a bit more on and see. Okay, so I'm actually getting ready for a family birthday lunch. It's not my birthday. And actually today is Remembrance Sunday at the time of filming. And I think central London is going to be very busy. There'll be roads closed off because of the ceremony. So we have to leave a little bit early. So I'm not sure how quickly I'm going to get out of the door. But makeup comes first, doesn't it? Has to. Oh, actually, I do like this. Have you tried the Sublimage foundation? Do let me know in the comments down below, because, you know, it does seem to me that it's the most sensible out of all the Chanel foundations. It's the most sensible match for me and my skin type and all of that. But I was kind of put off just because I've had not a single success, and I was, you know, I was a bit prejudiced against Chanel. But because of the success of the Nuit Astrale quad, I'm feeling a bit warmer towards Chanel. But the question is it reciprocated? Do you know what I mean? It's like any relationship. I don't want to feel I'm just giving and not getting anything back. Although that's a bit unfair, because the essays in the Chanel boutique are so helpful that they are definitely, you know. Oh, can I just also say, I haven't had a single hair come out of this. I mean, it does sometimes happen with Rèphr that you do get the odd fine hair come out, and I'm not that bothered, but I'm just commenting. First time I'm using it, it's fresh out the packet. Just before I started filming, I took the plastic sleeve off the thing, so that's good. Oh, lovely. Okay, is there coverage? Look, I've got a bit of hyperpigmentation there. Has it covered it? No, but I'm giving a light, you know, I'm doing a light application because that's kind of what I want. So, okay, just have a quick squeeze. Okay, I'm actually quite pleased with that. I don't really want to put on any more. I am going to put my concealer on and then we'll give it another little blend. Okay, let's see. Now, the concealer I'm going to use is the Chanel concealer, which I do really like. Can't remember the shade, but I will put it up here. Not only can I not remember the shade, I also can't see it on the thingy because they have helpfully put a clear label on a glass container written in white. Is it just me? I don't know. It doesn't really matter, I suppose, but it is a bit frustrating. Okay, so I've put my concealer on just to save time, and all I did was I put a little bit more foundation and just kind of blended it in. I have to tell you, this brush is fabulous. I would not necessarily have thought it would be quite as good as it is for foundation, but it's just lovely. There's no streaking. I've got way more expensive brushes, frankly, that do literally as good a job. This is fantastic. And also, I'll tell you what this does compared to my other foundation brushes. I can see how you can get your foundation on really quickly in a very, very fine application. It's absolutely lovely, really lovely. I'm so pleased I got 2 packets. I know that packets, but you know, they do come in packs. But yeah, I would definitely recommend this, and I've now put this across my face for quite a few goes. Not a single hair has come out. Yeah. Or is that one? One hair or fibre, or it is a hair actually because it's natural. Although that might have been one of mine. It could be that I'm growing chin hairs, which is lovely because we're just coming to that sort of time of year, aren't we, where a white beard is kind of, you know, the right vibe. Don't you think? Maybe that's it. I'm ready for panto season. Anyway, I think I'm the only person in Britain who doesn't enjoy pantomime. So I don't think I'm going to be on stage anytime soon. Right, so that's what we've got. We've got the concealer and we've got the SUBLIMAGE foundation, and I think it's so far so good. Now, I'm just going to put a bit of the Lisa Eldridge Phoebe on my eyelids, and then let's get on to Anastasia's Embers. Now, here's why I was particularly interested in Embers. I am one of the sort of the diehards, I suppose, that really enjoy Anastasia's eyeshadows, and I know that it's with sadness, really. It feels like the brand's kind of, you know, lost its way a little bit. It doesn't get, you know, doesn't get the same attention, and it probably hasn't brought out amazing new eyeshadows that they used to do and all of that. However, these little 9-pan eyeshadows I'm a real fan of. I've got Spice, I've got a couple of others as well. Really like them. So when Embers came out, actually I didn't know anything about them. I did a vlog, a Harrods vlog. Was that my first vlog? I think it was. And literally by chance, I wandered into an area of Harrods that I don't really tend to go into. And I just swatched this and I was kind of blown away. I was also blown away by the price, which is £30. And although I got this on, I think I got this as part of the Sephora sale, so I must have got at least 25% off or whatever. So anyway, I swatched it, and on the video, I was kind of amazed how lovely it was. So I ummed and ahed, and then obviously I bought it. The new Makeup by Mario palette, I know everybody is raving about, but here's the thing. I had bought the Ethereal Eyes in Moonlight last year, and honestly, I just regret it. You know, I have not used it. It looked like a really lovely palette. It wasn't necessarily a colour story that I would be naturally attracted to, but I think the truth is that the palette that I really wanted was the original Ethereal palette, which of course by the end of last year wasn't in stock, so that we all had to buy this. So I fell for it, and I'm really cross actually, because the quality of this is absolutely not up to the hype, in my opinion. And actually, I don't want to malign anybody. It's just that I sort of don't see how anybody can disagree with the fact that the quality of this is really, really dusty. It doesn't apply nicely. I did enjoy the colour story more than I thought I would, and then increasingly I found it very drying on my eyes, and I haven't reached for it, and it's pretty much, as you can see, pristine. So I'm not about to waste my money again. I'm really not. However, I did like the colour story that Mario had, so I kind of thought, well, you know what? I know these are good quality, because these are never a problem. Look at that. How wearable and usable are these? Lovely, warm. You get a little bit of your forest fix if you want, which I do. I'm always up for a little bit of a gentle green. And I thought it would be a really good, not so much contrast, but accompaniment to Natasha's Gloom palette, which is cooler. This is warmer. And so then I'd have sort of, you know, one of each for not a lot of financial outlay, frankly. So, you know, you'll see the swatches in a second, but that was basically my thinking. Here are all 9 swatches of Anastasia's Embers. Now, if you look at this top row here, there's a metallic pale champagne gold, and the middle of the top row is a metallic amber gold, and then a matte dusty taupe. The middle row, starting from here, we've got a metallic gilded bronze. Sorry, I'm moving my hand around. And then the very middle of the palette is a matte burnt peach. That's such an easy colour. And then a metallic rich molten brown. And then the bottom row, we've got the metallic olive green here, and then a metallic smouldering bluish green, which I sort of see as a dark denim, but I can see there's a bit of green in there now that she mentions it. And then the final shade is a matte toasted brown. So we've got they're soft metallics and they're soft mattes. It's clearly very different to the Mario Ethereal palette, the current one. But it did kind of make me think that I can get a bit of my sort of greeny, natural kind of fix, really, without going dusty and going with a formula that I really like. Now let me show it to you so that you can see what it looks like next to it. There we go. And because I mentioned it, here is Natasha's Gloom palette compared to Anastasia's Embers. Completely different. I'm just mentioning it because, you know, I mentioned Gloom, which is cooler, and this is obviously warmer, but it's not really warm. I think that's what's nice about this palette and why I've got high hopes, really. Now, because I want to try the Chanel Anthracite mascara, which on me, because I gave it a little swoosh, which I'll show you later, when I bought it yesterday, on me it's not purple at all. It just comes across as a sort of a dark grey, maybe with a bit of blue shot through it, like a deep indigo denim. It's lovely. And this is quite a warm palette. However, as you know, it's got this lovely sort of blue, not blue, it's like a dark grey blue shade running through it. So I'm going to use that in the crease to give a little bit of a bluish tinge to it so that I can justify using the mascara, because really, this is basically for me the star of the show. But just because this is the one that I've had to wait for such a long time because I didn't have it in stock. Anyway, so let's start with that. So the thing about Anastasia is I do absolutely love their products. I really do. I love, there's so much of them. I love their lip products. I love the eyebrow products and the eyeshadows, but you know, I just want more people to kind of give them the love that they deserve because they're really cost effective. And that's kind of what I mean about the Mario. I just think it's an awful lot of money for it to be sitting in your drawer. So, you know, this is definitely worth a go. Oh, this is going on so smoothly. These shadows are definitely worth a go. I hope these are as good as the other 9 pans that I have and I've enjoyed. I mean, it's not just the value for money, but the value for money does count, doesn't it? Can you see how smoothly this is going on? Now, what am I using? I'm using the Shodō 02. Oh, that's lovely. I'm using the little Shodō 06 to go underneath and the lower lid. It's really picked up a lot of product, so if you're going to use it for this, then you've got to be careful because it really picks up product. I mean, it's lovely, but I was unprepared for that, so I have had to sort of smudge it a little bit with another, just a Rèphr 13. But that's amazing actually, because it's so wispy. I didn't think, I sort of underestimated quite how efficient it would be, but never mind. I'm experimenting with the brush first so that you don't make the same mistake that I do. Okay, sorry, I've got a noisy cat. Okay, so I should say in the interim, I have done my brows with Anastasia's pencil, and on top I've used Legendary Brows, which I do really like, Charlotte's product. Okay, so we've got that now. Now, let's have a look. I will use this. Okay, so I'll just go into this very, very soft metallic here. It's nice and soft, hopefully. Yes, it is. Okay, it's very nice. Now, years ago, I tell you what this reminds me of. Years ago, my husband and I went to see this apartment because we were thinking of moving. We didn't move. We ended up not moving. But anyway, we saw this apartment, and the estate agent from the firm. Now, in the UK, you kind of work for a firm that has all the that has properties, and if you work there, you can only show properties that that particular company has, kind of thing. It's not like the US system, which is the realtor system, which is more an independent person. But anyway, I knew the estate agent well, and we were sort of chatting, and I was wondering why this reminded me, because what I'd noticed was in this flat, in this apartment, it was quite a large family was living in that it was multi-generational. So there was sort of the family that was kind of middle-aged with kids, and they also had the grandparents living with them as well. And they were quite a glamorous family. You know, there were sort of, you know, Kelly bags strewn everywhere. And it was just one of those things. Anyway, the lady in question, the main family, not the grandparents, she had a makeup room, and it looked really lovely. And I do remember her having sort of the whole range of Anastasia palettes, and I kind of clocked that. That's kind of why this kind of reminded me, this story reminded me. But anyway, I'll tell you what was really funny. The estate agent, because we were sort of chatting, whatever, he said to me, why don't you just, you know, walk around, feel free. You know, they're fine for you to walk around by yourself. You don't need me showing you, or saying, opening the door, going, this is a bedroom, when it's pretty obvious there's a bed in it, this is the bedroom, kind of thing. So my husband and I were wandering around this apartment. It was quite a big apartment, and it was one of those, it was quite an old-fashioned apartment. You couldn't tell, when you opened the door, you couldn't tell what room you were going into, you know. So we opened what we thought was a bedroom, and we opened the door, and there was a lady, who was quite elderly, and she was sitting on the lavatory. She was sitting on the loo. And I said, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. And I closed the door. And she said, oh no, don't worry. Ask me any questions that you have about the apartment. And I said, it's okay. I'll let you finish and, get ready, and we'll just, wander off. I was mortified. My husband was laughing. He didn't have the decency to be mortified. I think I was mortified for everybody. I don't blush. I'm not a blushing kind of person, but I was mortified. Anyway, but she carries on the conversation while she's on the loo. And it's mortifying. I mean, there's the door now between us, so it's not like it's wide open as it was before, with her trolleys around her ankles and me mortified. Anyway, she carries on the conversation, and she's telling us about the flat, and she's telling us about the service charge. She's also telling us about the wonderful view if we go to another room at the other end of the flat, because there's an amazing view of this park or whatever it was, and I was absolutely mortified. So that was that. She then carries on. We hear the flush of the toilet. She's still talking. And it's not, I don't want you to think that she was kind of, maybe she had some kind of dementia or whatever. She was perfectly lucid, and she actually wasn't particularly elderly either, because this family, she was probably no more than 60. She might have been younger. Anyway, she carried on talking. I was absolutely mortified. She flushes the loo. She's clearly washing her hands, and she comes out and she carries on talking, and then shows us around the rest of the flat perfectly normally. And I'm the only one that's mortified. That's it. That is basically my Anastasia story about somebody who, when it wasn't her, it was clearly either her daughter or her daughter-in-law who was the makeup lover, because it was in the it was the kind of the main family's kind of bedroom and ensuite, and all of that. So that story has been seared in my memory. Now, I don't tend to remember. I tend to remember more. It's more to do with the fact of how I feel. In other words, I remember my extreme embarrassment, mortification, because what I realised I should have done is I should have knocked on the door before I opened it. And I have never made that mistake since. Now, wherever I am, I'm knocking on the door like this, dramatically, making sure that, the devil himself can hear me. So that's it, really. Anyway, this is going on rather nicely, isn't it? Let's put a little, so I've put this, let's put a little bit of this in the inner corner. I'm going to use just want this. This is such a good brush. Rèphr 21, it's still out of stock, but I cannot recommend it enough if you want a lovely inner corner brush. So get on the website, everything's listed down below. Get on the Rèphr website and press notify me for it, because it's so worth it. It's just a lovely, look at that. It's such a lovely brush. And if you've got very deep set eyes, as I have, because it's quite long, it can get in there really easily. What's my other one? I've got the other Rèphr. This is 28 and 02. And can you see? Let me show you the difference actually. 1 second. Let me show you the difference. Look. Can you see the difference? The Rèphr 21, which is the goldy coloured one, is just longer than the other two, and I think as a result it's just easier to get in there and do it quickly. I still use these and I still really like them, and I would absolutely recommend them as for like a normal inner corner, but this goes to a different place. Yes, it does. It's like in When Harry Met Sally, when he says to her, "You made a woman meow." Does anybody know that? Maybe nobody knows that. Anyway, okay, here we go. Let's do a bit more here, and then we're rocking and rolling, I think. Okay. We had our lovely cat sitter while we were away for a few days, and she's amazing, and she's a bit of a cat whisperer. You know, one of my cats is very nervous and is on medication, and he adores her. They all adore her. However, they all overeat with her, and actually, no, that's not true. One of them overeats with her because she basically bullies everybody else and eats all their food, even though, you know, a closed door is no barrier to that cat, let me tell you. She's a bit of a ninja. And she is now waddling up the stairs only after 5 days. She really is. So she needs a little bit of GLP-1 assistance, I would say. I think that's all I really want to do. I don't know what you think. It's just enough. I don't really want to do anything more than that, because let me get onto the mascara. Here we go. Right. Look, this is it. This is the Noir Allure in 77 Anthracite. Looks like that. Oh, look at that. I'm such a sucker for this. I'm such a sucker for this. Now, this is a limited edition shade. It's black with a drop of red is the way they describe it. I thought it was going to be a dark grey. It looked like a dark grey in store. On my lashes, as you will see shortly in daylight, it translates to a indigo denim kind of shade that you can kind of see when the light catches the lash. I don't see any purple. Some of you have written, some of my lovely subscribers have written and said it can be a deep purple on them, and others have said it's more an indigo denim. For me, that's what it is, but I do want to try it. So here goes. So this is a lengthening and defining mascara. Now, I have to say, I could not resist yesterday trying it on, and you'll see a little bit of video there, and all I've got on actually is mascara, and I'll tell you why. I had done the whole skincare thing yesterday, and I spent, so yesterday, yes it was yesterday, of course it was yesterday, and then so I'd done sort of I'd exfoliated, I'd done a lovely mask, and then I put on a load of the oil from Augustinus Bader, which I'm very sorry to tell you is a really good and efficient and efficacious product. And I'm really disappointed because it's horrifically expensive. I had a small size, which is their sort of starter size, 10 ml I think it is, in the Harrods advent calendar. And I did, at the time, I think I did say, if you've watched that video, I bought the advent calendar really for the skincare, to try some new skincare. And I've been trying it and I absolutely love it. I do love an oil, but a good oil is hard to find. This is amazing. It has really, really worked for me. So I'm on my second little bottle, and I've just bought 2 big bottles in the sale. But you know, I didn't want to like it, frankly, because it's very expensive. So anyway, my point is, I had put a lot of that on. Well, no, I hadn't. I put a normal amount on, and then a couple of hours later, I put more on. And I do tend to do that with skincare. If I know I've got a day where I'm at home, or I can take my makeup off at lunchtime, say, and just give myself, you know, a good sort of 10 hours before bedtime of a treatment. That's what I was doing. So that's why you can see my skin is kind of got no makeup on, and my skin's quite shiny because I have been putting on all this oil. But it's just fantastic. I was gutted. I really, really didn't want to like it. Yeah, I don't know what's in there, but there's something very good in there. And also, unlike a lot of oils, what I found was it's genuinely 1 to 2 drops. Whereas the other oils that I really love, like the Yves L'Homme, for example, I really love that oil. I do find I need more to kind of really kind of cover my, it's not got the same slip. This is amazing. I'm not going to tell you it's cost effective because I'm using less, because, you know, at that price, you know, it's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal price, but it's fantastic. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of loath to recommend it until I've used a complete bottle, like a full size bottle. Do you know what I mean? I'm sort of reporting back, but I don't want to say to you, oh, I'd really recommend it if you've got very dry, mature skin like me, because it could be one of those, and I have had this before, whereby, you know, there's a tremendous kind of effect to begin with, and then afterwards I'm kind of a bit, yeah, it seemed to taper off. So yeah, at this price, it better not taper off. But I have bought 2 full-size bottles. So are they 30 ml? I think they're 30 ml. Yeah. I'm going to use those. I'm going to use at least one. Well, I'll finish my little one that I'm on now. I'll use at least a whole one, and then I want to either recommend or not recommend, because really it's phenomenal money. Although if you're watching this and you want to give it a go, then at least you can try the little 10 ml. But yeah, look how nice this mascara is. It's not clumpy, it's just really lovely. Let me bring you a bit closer so you can have a look. Look at that. Yeah, it's lovely. And it's got a lovely brush in that. Is it rubberized? Yeah, it's got one of those bendy, that's probably why I like it. It's got a slight bend to it. Do you see? So it kind of, it moves with your lashes, which I do like. You know, sometimes when a brush is very rigid, I don't know whether it's my lashes or whether it's the shape of my eye. You know how you can get mascara on the upper lid? I find with bendy brushes that doesn't happen as much, so that's kind of why I like them. Yeah. Anyway, so that's why on the Daylight mascara clip you can see my skin is, you know, au naturel, as it were, simply because I was sort of giving it a good go. And actually, when I have days like that, it pays you back. The next day, my skin, as it is today, is just smoother and, you know, yeah, it's just better, you know. It's improved. Okay, that's very nice. I'm so glad that I finally got this. I had to go to the boutique for this because everywhere else had sold out. Okay, so is that 1 coat or 2 coats? It's 1 very good coat. You know, I might put a bit more afterwards, but you know, let's see. Now, in terms of blusher, the new blusher that I was going to use, which was the Valentino, hasn't arrived. Sephora's managed to lose a parcel, but I seem to remember it happened last year as well. So they are very busy, and I have had like 1 million parcels. So it's not like from them. So it's not like I'm suffering. Okay, so here's another of the new Shodō 05. So it's exactly the same as the one I used for the for foundation. So good. And also the thing that I didn't mention to you, can you see that it's sort of flat on one side and then it tapers that way? It's a good foundation brush. Yeah. Okay, so I'll tell you what I'm going to use. My Hourglass palette, which I got a few months ago, there's a blusher in this, and it does frustrate me with Hourglass. I don't know whether I'm the only one, because everybody seems to be buying 2 or 3 of all the new Hourglass palettes, and this is only my second. I've had this one for a couple of years and now this one, but this has got a shade called Peach Fusion and also Vibrant Coral. So it's these 2 here, and Peach Fusion is so lovely, and somewhat frustratingly, this is what I don't like about, it's not what I don't like, I just find frustrating with Hourglass, is that their range of blushes is so enormous that you can't kind of get a purchase on them because it depends on what palette you buy. Now you can't buy this singly, which is a bit frustrating. So I'm just going to use a little bit of my YSL bronzing powder first. This is last year's brush, which was really lovely as well. But I do think the Shodō's got the edge because I remember applying foundation with this when I first got it and it was a little bit streaky. This is great for blush and powder and all of that, but it wasn't great. It wasn't as good at all as this one with foundation. So I'm just going to put a little bit of bronzer and then I want to use some of this lovely peachy shade and then onto the lipstick. Okay, where is my mirror? Yeah, so my slight frustration with Hourglass is the range is so massive, which is lovely, but the blushes are all different on the palettes. You can't get the same blusher singly, so you have to buy the palette. I don't mind any of that. It's just a little bit confusing, and I don't know. As I'm in my middle years, I just feel, you know, I don't think makeup should be, you know, nuclear fusion. I don't think it should be that complicated, but maybe it's just me. I do find it a bit frustrating. So for example, I really like these two shades, and actually if I could buy them singly I would, just so I don't have to cart the palette with me if I want to have one in a different makeup bag or whatever, and of course you can't. So I don't know. I know it's a first world problem, but makeup problems are first world problems, and it is a bit frustrating because also it's a lot to remember, isn't it? But let me know if you share this thought, or whether you're such an Hourglass fan that it's a price worth paying. Now, I do love Hourglass. It's not that I don't. It's just that there's just a lot going on. And yeah, I don't think we should be having to split the atom for a bit of blusher. Okay, so that's the bronzer. I'll tell you what I've just noticed. These are made by hand, by the way, but one is taller than the other. Yeah? Maybe it was made by somebody who's taller or has got longer arms or something. I don't know. Anyway, all I'm saying is I think it's proof that they are handmade. Okay, so here's a nice clean one. I'm going to go into this, and it is a bit frustrating, as I said, because I can't share the colour with you, but it is a nice shade. And if you've bought the Hourglass, I mean, I looked at the new Hourglass palettes, and there is one. Is it I think it's the Fox that's got a nice coral in. I do like a coral blush. I do, but you know, if you've got a favourite of the new Hourglass palettes, please tell me down below, because maybe I am open to buying one, particularly if I can get one in the sale. Do let me know. What do you think? I think it was the Fox, but I think one of the blushes is quite deep for me. But you know, I'm happy to keep an open mind. Sorry, I've got a wailing cat. Okay, that gives us a little bit of a. This is nice for blush, nice and diffused. Very nice. I'm so glad I got two of these. I think what it is you pay a bit of postage to get them to the UK, and it takes a little bit of time. So I did kind of think, oh, you know, there's no point me reordering, you know, in a month's time or 2 weeks' time again and going through the whole thing. So I'm only putting a little bit of this on because I have got quite a strong lipstick to go on. So I'll do that in a minute. Okay, so this is Rouge V in the Rouge Allure Velvet. Looks like this. Lovely. Lovely. Let's give it a go. My cat is getting high on catnip in the corner of this room. She's completely off her face. It's, you know, we are reliving Breaking Bad on this video. As I've said before, I'm not a one swipe kind of person. You know, I like to kind of keep going. It's a good colour though, isn't it? What do you think? I do like this. It's kind of, for someone like me who's not a red person, although I keep saying it, but I am increasingly drawn to red. So, you know, it's clearly been a slippery slope because it was Prada's Fuoco that started this whole thing for me. And actually this is much, it's more, I was going to say subdued. Yeah, it's more muted than Fuoco. I like it. What do you think? Do I need a bit more blusher? Maybe I do need a bit more blusher. I'm just kind of, you know, as I've said, we're heading towards Panto season, and, you know, I don't want people to think that I've kind of come off stage and put a little bit more on, but kind of, yeah, maybe that's enough. Maybe I should stop there. Yeah. Now, the question is, does this foundation need powder? I don't really want to put powder. What I might do is I'll put a bit of dim light on, yeah, just on the T-zone. I think that's what I'm going to do, because I actually quite like this slight luminosity. That's what we'll do. Yeah, I do like dim light. It's, again, it's a bit like, this is a red for people who don't like reds, like me. Dim light is a finishing powder for people who don't like finishing powders. There we go. There we go. Now, I haven't got any eyeliner, and I kind of didn't want to do that. I didn't want to put any liner on top, simply because I thought it might be a little bit too dark with the sort of, you know, this kind of denim-y shade in the eyeshadows. So I don't know, what do you think? I'm going to leave it like that for now, but let me know what you think. These eyeshadows just blended so easily. There was just no drama. There's no fallout. There's no nothing. And they're just really good value as well. They're just wonderful. They don't let you down. And also, I just want to say, I'll tell you what I like about the actual colour story, in that the fact that you've got this kind of bluey, denim-y, sort of grey colour here, you can turn it into something slightly cooler without feeling you have to lean in to the really bronzy warmth of it. So from that point of view, I just think it's got some flexibility, and it's very, very wearable. Tell you what it reminds me of. It reminds me of the £6 palettes that I just, you know, over the years I've really enjoyed from MAC. And MAC, again, is another brand that I know is kind of isn't really talked about and is sort of out of favour. Maybe they're not trying as hard as they should do, because it's not our job to kind of be bigging them up the whole time. However, it does remind me of that in the sense that it's a sort of carefully curated small palette, as opposed to throwing mud at the wall and hoping something will stick and it'll be all things to all women and we'll all be, you know, there's something for everybody. You know, I just like the fact that they've really kind of committed. I do see, as from yesterday, that there is a new palette, which is the cooler partner to this. I can't buy it because it's available on TikTok shop, which I think is only US. So if you are a fan of these and you want to have a look, then check out Anastasia's post on Instagram with a link there to the TikTok shop, because that's probably the one to get, and I will be buying that in due course as well. So that is the finished look. I'm going to go about my day and see how the Sublimage wears, and I'm going to come back and report back to you, and we'll have another look, because I think it is going to be worth doing a check-in. This is meant to be a long-lasting foundation. You did see I didn't put that, you know, that much on, in the sense that I put, you know, a good light to medium application, which is what I would do in my normal, you know, my normal life. It's realistic. But let's do a check-in and see how we go. Here I am. It's 10 hours later. I had a lovely long family birthday lunch, which was delightful, which turned into a sort of afternoon tea situation, which turned into an early supper for the younger members who just got hungry again, obviously, because 10 seconds had elapsed since their last meal. And now I'm back. I basically came back to a feline crack den. I'd bought new catnip banana things and dotted them about. And I'll post a couple of photographs here so you can see what I'm dealing with. Honestly, cats are completely off their faces. At any rate, back to the Sublimage foundation. And here's my roundup, having looked in the car mirror a couple of times, having looked, you know, when I went to the bathroom and just kind of washing my hands, kind of did that thing of looking in the mirror. You know, it's lasted fine. It's exactly what you would expect. However, has it beaten my Clé de Peau? A bit cheaper, I have to tell you. Has it beaten the Givenchy or the Guerlain, or indeed my Victoria Beckham, which is still in my suitcase? Because no, I am the kind of person that doesn't unpack immediately the minute I get home. Generally my husband unpacks for me, but there was one small rogue bag that he missed, and as a result has not been unpacked. Anyway, no, it doesn't beat it. So I'm a bit underwhelmed, really. I do wonder if the formula's basically been superseded. I have to say, in terms of coverage, it's lovely, but in terms of the finish, really, I'm kind of, I mean, underwhelmed is probably the wrong word. It's okay, but it's not as good as or better than all the aforementioned foundations, which at the moment are my top, you know, 4 or 5 foundations. So yeah, it's not really a total win for me. I'm glad I tried it. I think the colour's good for me, the shade is good for me, so that's a plus for Chanel. But apart from that, it's okay. It's fine. I can't justify the cost. I've got plenty left. I am going to do a side by side. I think that's the way to treat this and to really see. And what I'll do is I'll put a medium coverage of this and a definite medium coverage of that. And I might even apply it with my fingers to see if a different application makes a difference. But honestly, at £140, I expected more. That's what I would say. And now there may well be a ceiling, at which point, when you're happy with the foundation, how much better can it be? What I will say, it didn't go sticky or shiny or it didn't separate. Nothing's happened to it. It's all fine. It's just that I would say the finish is not the beautiful finish that I feel I get with all the other foundations. And actually, I would put the Merit foundation stick in that mix as well. And we know that's a lot cheaper, you know. But you saw the blusher lay very nicely on top. I didn't have to powder, you know, it was all fine. Everything was fine. It's just not exceptional. And I would say it's not worth changing from my existing wonderful foundations. I'm glad I tried it though, because as I said, for once I've got the shade right. So that's a plus. In terms of the eyeshadow, I think they've performed really, really well. They haven't faded and there's been no fallout at all. They're not super duper glittery as you saw on the swatches. I would class them as very much soft metallics. It's one of the reasons actually why I like Anastasia's formula, in that everything about the different kind of formulations are still within that sort of softness. So it's very forgiving on a drier skin or a more mature eye. Let me just bring you a little bit closer so that you can see. It would help if I went in the right direction so that you can see what I mean. As I said, there's been no fallout. They're just lovely and smooth. They blend really easily. You saw me. I was just, you know, I was chatting away. It's no effort at all. And actually, even the little bit of shadow I put underneath has lasted. It hasn't faded at all. So that's, you know, this is a plus. They're fantastic value for money. You can see with no effort at all. Well, they would be no effort at all to build, because actually, as I kind of swatch them, if you press a little bit harder, you can get more intensity. It's just that it's always going to be grades within that softness, which honestly, I'm here for. You know, this is one of the reasons why I really enjoy Anastasia's formula. It's just a very, very forgiving for a drier or a more mature eye. I think they're fabulous. I think they're great value. It's a lovely little palette, eminently portable. Now, at the beginning, I did sort of mention Gloom, which is why I swatched Gloom just as a comparison. I know they're completely different. That kind of wasn't my point. My point really was Gloom does a cool, natural toned palette, and this does a warm, but not too warm, natural toned palette. I think part of me thought by this time of this year, we might have been graced by a fuller version of this. I don't know why I thought, this is completely baseless. You know, this is just my own catnip-induced fantasy. I did kind of hope that we would have a version that was like a bigger palette with maybe some warmer tones as well as, you know, incorporating the cooler tones. That's not, you know, that's not materialized yet, if it's ever going to be. And so I kind of feel I've kind of sort of done it myself for a bit just to keep me going. And as I've also said, it's a more viable alternative for me than the Mario, because I have gross misgivings about that particular formula. Yeah, I can bear a grudge. I can be a bit Sicilian like that. This palette is an absolute winner. While this is certainly a first impressions video, in that I've only really used 3, maybe 4 colours of the shades, and I will do more. I'm just saying this is just wonderful. I will be using it more. You will get more feedback from me, but so far, terrific. And kind of as expected, really. I expected to be, you know, delighted with the performance and the shades, and, you know, I am. I do want a quick shout out for these brushes. Fantastic. I'm so impressed. I'm really pleased. I'm really pleased I got 2 sets, actually, just because of the postage and, you know, everything else that goes on and the time. But I highly, highly recommend these. This was perfect for blush. It really was. Absolutely perfect for a powder blush. This was great with a liquid foundation, you know, just lovely. If I'd only bought one, I probably would have only used it for the blusher. So I'm really pleased I got to try it in both ways. And you saw there was one rogue hair, which, as I said, could have been, you know, a bearded moment. I mean, it would be a first because I'm not, you know, I'm not really that hairy, but you never know. Delighted, and very much in keeping with the rest of the Shodō brushes. I also want to say I've got one clean and one that I used. So this is the Shodō 06 that came in the kit, one I haven't used yet. But this teeny tiny little brush, it picked up a lot of product very smoothly and evenly to go underneath the eye. So if you do go for these, and I would really recommend them, they're so cost effective. It's such a wonderful set of brushes to have, frankly, especially if you go for the discount. Then it picks up the brush, but it's still very even and it goes on really nicely. As I said, it picks up plenty of product, so go easy, go easy. Really delighted, and totally in keeping with all the other Shodō brushes, and certainly in keeping with all, you know, the quality that, you know, that I've really come to love and respect from Rèphr. I just think they're terrific value and terrific products. I really do. And I know I'm not alone in this. I'm just kind of saying that this new set is very much on a par with everything else that I've bought. And I'm just reminding you, I have bought and paid for everything myself. So it really is my money on the line. So that's, you know, and that's partly why I'm kind of critical of the Chanel foundation. Not anything against Chanel and nothing against anybody who, you know, who enjoys this particular foundation. I just think for £140 of hard-earned cash, there are better foundations out there at the moment, it seems to me, but I've got lots more left and I will keep trying it. In terms of the lipstick, I'm absolutely delighted. I really am. I really like the colour. It's really usable. With lipsticks, I do tend to prefer not to keep them for more than a year and a half, probably. So when it comes to holiday lipsticks, I prefer not to go for really glittery lipsticks. I want to be able to get the wear out of them fully, because there is a kind of shelf life for me anyway. There are some Charlotte Tilburys that I wear sort of very occasionally that I keep for longer, but I am quite careful where I store them, and I do tend to store them in a sort of a more cool place as opposed to just kind of strewn on my desk, you know, as normal. It did occur to me though that what I didn't do, in case you haven't done the swatch comparison yourself in store, if you've not been able to do so, just to show you the comparison between the Abstrait, which is my the first of the holiday lipsticks that I bought, the Rouge V. So I had to squint to remind myself of the name of the one that I'm wearing. So this is Abstrait, and below is Rouge V. Yeah. So Abstrait is very much, certainly for me, a My Lips But Better kind of shade, and then Rouge V is red, but it's a soft red. It's not a red. You know what I mean by that, don't you? Yeah, you know what I mean. But I just love it. I really do. And this formula, if you've not tried it, is not a drying matte formula. It's got a real creamy feel to it. And in fact, the application on the lips belies the way it actually finishes on the lips. It feels creamy, but dries, I would say, semi-matte. It's not a matte, it's a semi-matte, but it is a lovely formula. So I'm very pleased with the colour. I'm kind of pleased sort of overall. And I suppose part of me feels pleased that this is a kind of more of an, not so much all year round, sorry, it's a kind of easy autumn, winter look without it necessarily screaming party or holiday. I suppose that's kind of what I like about this look. It's kind of wintry, but not necessarily festive. I can amp it up if I want to, but it's just a lovely everyday, and it's certainly very kind of workaday friendly. So I want to hear from you. Are you an Anastasia eyeshadow fan, or do you feel it's kind of had its day? And likewise, with the Chanel, you know, I know quite a few of you have bought the mascara. What do you think of it? And actually, how do you feel about coloured mascaras? Because I tell you the thing that I did think about. The one coloured mascara that I have hitherto really enjoyed, I forget the name of it, I have actually ended up buying 2 in the Sephora sale, is the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk, you know, the burgundy shaded one. I really enjoyed that when it came out, and actually then I couldn't find it again, and now it's obviously, she's either, I don't know, has she brought it back for the holidays, or was it always there and I just couldn't find it? I don't know. But anyway, I have bought a couple, so you will probably be seeing those. But it's not that I like a coloured mascara in the sense that I don't like a bright blue or a bright green. I'm not sort of like that. But a sort of a more subtle, you know, wink of colour, you know, I do like. So I am rather excited about this, but I do want to know how you feel about coloured mascara, or are you just kind of like, you know, if it's not black, I'm not interested kind of thing, or maybe a dark brown, you know, maybe as far as you'll go kind of thing. So yeah, I do wonder about that. So do let me know in the comments down below. Do subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.